The evil root in Chapter 2 has been a topic of many discussions since its reveal. I had my fair share of that in my previous videos as well, but I haven't really gone into detail with that. In Part 1 I only talked about Noel's side of the story, and in Part 4 I just covered surface level stuff. There is one thing about this root however that no one seemed to mention, that one being the storytelling itself. No, I'm not talking about the so-called second-hand sin. That one has been explored thoroughly by now. This video is not about the player's perspective, but rather the way the characters around you react to your actions, and how it differs from Undertale. To understand the bigger picture, we need to dig deeper. Despite both games having similar tones, Deltarune certainly has a more mature feeling to it. Undertale for the most part tried to be kid-friendly, to the point where it even censored a kiss. This is reinforced by the fact that Frisk was a lot more casually outgoing and had sarcastic humor. I say for the most part, because when the game got dark, all this just got thrown out the window. And I'm not talking about the arrival at the capital. Based on what we've seen at that point, nothing really felt out of place. The shift happened when Photoshop Flowey showed up. Everything about his appearance and most of the evil root was really visceral, in your face. Now, there were also some more subtle parts here and there, mostly the ones connected to Sans and Gaster. Thankfully the latter one is utilized by Deltarune really well. The characters have a lot more going on too, even though most of it happens off-screen, and Chris is kind of a weird wise-cracking goofball, who values deeper bonds a lot more. The personalities of the main characters also tie in to the first big difference between the evil roots in the two games. Undertale for the most part was a solo experience, as Frisk was left unsupervised outside of a few instances. This allowed the killing to start right away, creating a huge gap between the main character and everyone else. Deltarune not only establishes a deeper history within its cast, but you also have to work with multiple party members for most of the game. This is what Ralsei accounts for when you encounter a fork in the road, insisting that Chris should go with one of them, and at that point he even trusts that Susie can keep you from derailing the mission. Susie's spunky girl attitude backfires however, as she, against everyone else's better judgment, drags Ralsei away, leaving Chris completely unsupervised. This is the moment. This is your window of opportunity to wreak havoc. The reaction of the NPCs in Undertale was how characters in a slasher movie react to the villain. Everyone either fled or hid, however they eventually started getting informed, organized, and evacuated properly just to get away from the approaching threat. In Deltarune everything was pretty much contained in a single area, as there was no one left to tell the tale. Because of that, most characters either don't know what has occurred, or just can't figure out what caused it. They don't seem to notice the damage either, aside from a handful of Darkners being missing, and the only other victim was Birdlee. This means that only Chris and Noel know what happened, as everyone else in town is blissfully ignorant of the fact that now a killer is on the loose. The structure of the evil root in Undertale didn't allow many antagonistic forces to be on stage for long. Aside from Sans and Papyrus, character development in this route didn't come in the form of longer arcs, but rather split-second decisions that reinforced who these people are. If someone was good on the inside, they became the best versions of themselves, but if someone was a filthy monstrosity on the inside, this brought the absolute worst out of them. Having the evil route unfold much slower, there is more time for the characters to grasp the situation, which means the story is longer and more personal. Unlike Susie, who is standoffish and aggressively tries to deviate from the set path, Noelle has little regard for herself, and lets others decide the path for her. However, she also has three distinct motivations, either of which she is willing to cast herself into the fire for. First is her need to fix her family by curing her dad and finding her sister. Second is her longing for a life of adventure, and last but not least is her loyalty not just towards Susie, but towards Chris as well. Once you meet her in the hospital again, and tell her that the cyber world wasn't a dream, she starts breaking down, not only realizing what she's done, but the fact that a trusted friend was used against her by an unknown enemy. And yet, her inner monologue indicates that she is still willing to take up the mantle of a Delta warrior, and fight to save Chris. Recently, I've been thinking a lot about this community, where we got over the past years, our achievements and our losses as well. Re-watching Desmond's playthrough of Chapter 1, it was weird seeing him as his cheerful, charismatic self again, as it was one of his last works, before the disaster that ultimately cost him everything. He wasn't the only one who lost his determination, as Marquez left this community before the first chapter even came out, due to the backlash he got from toxic fans. Even some who are still here have shown signs of burnout. Watching Sean rush through Chapter 2, to the point where he intentionally avoided battles, which ultimately screwed up his pacifist run, was heartbreaking. It left me wondering whether the others can still carry the torch when the time comes. However, I'm not going anywhere. If it's up to me, I'll be with you to the end. Thank you all for supporting me, and be sure to spread the word, as it is finally time for this channel to get a proper name. Until the next video then.